Hello, it's now time for another talkie. This is Peter.
This is Michaela.
Well, I'm Scott.
And we've just finished Silent Hill 3. Finally, it's over with. How was it?
Honestly, this might sound a bit heretical, considering the fanbase seems to gravitate towards 2, but I think it was my favourite of the 3 we've played.
No, fair enough. It is some people's favourite, but yes, it's usually Silent Hill 2, which is. My favourite is Silent Hill 4. Bearing in mind, favourite, I don't necessarily think it was the best game, but it is my favourite. Yeah, so what do you think of that section of the game, though, rather than the whole thing in general?
The last section of the game, well, it reminded me a lot of the time in Silent Hill 1, really. There was lots of throwbacks to it, like the classroom, all the rooms you visit, updated with better textures, thankfully. Although I think it would have been interesting just to go back in those rooms and have the same texture resolutions as you had in 1.
Sort of like Metal Gear Solid 4 had a bit like that.
I was just thinking of that.
You went back to Shadow Moses. It was actually from the first game, yeah. It was that low resolution where you had like a single polygon for your face.
All the little random effects the rooms had was quite interesting as well. Though I'm a bit wary of those, as they usually mean you die if you don't run about.
In that particular, yeah. Like the room which I described during the playthrough as the geometry room, it does actually change if you stay in it. But of course it's got monsters in it, so we egressed rather quickly through it.
Didn't want to waste bullets.
Going back to what you said, sort of one of the first things you said, yes, there was lots of locations from Silent Hill 1, because we had the Alessa's bedroom, and the schoolroom, and the hospital room, and even not just that, but sort of all your dad's notes and everything, so it was quite interesting sort of looking back.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before when we were in the fairground that I didn't realise that Harry was actually writing down things when he was saving the game. I think it's a cute little addition to it.
Yeah, it's a nice way to sort of explain the mechanic, the same as it has for the symbol in 3 that we're using, where it says it's a symbol of reincarnation. There's no saving in case we die, and then we come back.
Yeah, I quite like that sort of strange blending between game logic and real logic.
Though it doesn't take it too far, thankfully. Some games suffer for that.
Yes, that's true.
But yes, I thought it was interesting with all the bits from 1, because I'd kind of forgotten lots of things that had happened in 1, so it was good to remind us.
I think that's one that's most clearly in my mind out of them all.
Speaking of which, did you like the way that when Heather reaches the classroom with the desk and, what was it, thief, drop dead?
Go away.
And all the desks were
that.
spread apart and hers was in the centre, ostracised.
Yes, and she talks about unpleasant memories. Do you like the way it does that, the way it sort of explains and references the first game occasionally?
Yeah, well, it's very important to the meta plot, I think, to reference the first game, as everything from 3 seems to be drawn from 1.
What did you make of the tape where we find out that it's Father Vincent?
Well, I wasn't too surprised, really, because he'd already admitted to involvement within the cult, so he must have some sort of position.
Yeah, because he has a lot of intimate knowledge of sort of all the religious bits.
Though I think this is the one religion where a corrupt priest is actually beneficial to normal people.
Because he's only corrupt in the sense that he doesn't want paradise to come. He sort of wants a more normal life.
And this sort of paradise is probably unwelcome.
Separate Claudia. I don't know. Separate Claudia? What's that mean?
It's because they talk about Claudia in the tape, sort of saying that they wouldn't want to be like her and that she frightens them. And I thought it was good to equate it to the bit that we'd just seen with Cheryl, or Alessa, being separate as well. They're both very lonely little girls. She's very separate as well on her own. Claudia.
And the difference between their bedrooms as well.
How do you mean?
Alessa's room was full of activities, was full of...
like the butterflies and the...
Yeah, sort of hobbies and things that she wanted to do and life that she wanted to have.
Quite empty.
Yes, it was from Sparta. There was a very long cutscene in that with lots of things going on. Of course, we didn't want to talk over it, but there's lots of themes that it touches on, like who's really crazy, is it really God we're talking about, sympathy born from pain and suffering. So what did you think of all the overall themes of that? It kind of comes to a head at the end there.
It does a little. I'm not really sure what to think about it. I haven't had time to digest it fully. As far as who's actually crazy, Claudia. She's my shoes. You don't trust anyone wearing no shoes.
Or eyebrows.
I wanted to say, in a way, I do feel that you could view her as a sympathetic character, because she's sort of, as we've played through the game, you can infer that she didn't have a very nice life, so she's using the religion as sort of something that she has, something that she can do.
If you look at the books that were in a room, in the diary that she mentions, books she was reading, something like that?
Yeah.
Where it talks about how it was looking at slavery and things like that. So she's obviously developed a sort of an empathy, a sympathy.
And a moral compass.
Yeah.
Even she, she believes that she won't be saved when the time comes.
So her intentions are actually pretty pure. I think I mentioned that during the playthrough.
She's just a mental.
Yeah, I quite like I suspect you'll agree, I quite like the anti-climax about the piece of junk. When, the seal of Metatron, where you went to all of this effort to get the seal of Metatron, and then it's like, oh, you're going to use it? It's just like, well, that's rubbish, that is.
Should have tried to use it, ended the game right there, that was it. Masterful, deadliest piece of work.
So that boss fight was interesting. There was not very much in the way of resources, and the first time you do it, I'm surprised you did it.
That's about 100 hours of Dark Souls play coming through right there.
Yeah, it's not an easy boss.
No, it isn't, and the shotgun has a bit too much kickback, so it's hard to dodge the fire if you fire it.
Yeah, because it stops you from moving for quite a while. I think you can do it, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice.
Pistol was much easier, so I think I was one fireball away from death there.
I think at the very end you were a red status.
Yes,
Red status with about 3 bullets left and no health kits.
That's how we roll.
Glad I saved half the stuff.
So what did you think about that ending? Good sense of humour?
I am surprised that Douglas didn't shoot her for that.
Because I do quite like the contrast between the game ends and a lot of games would rather cowardly just end at that point and go, success, we've won. But no, she's still grieving for her father, but she's grieving for her father and then it immediately cuts to her pretending to go to stab Douglas. So a wonderful contrast, I thought.
Probably indicative of Heather's mental state at that point.
I don't know. I think it's sort of she's dealing with it in her own way. But yes,
With a knife.
I quite like that it sort of ends on her. I think the last thing she says is, "Don't blondes have more fun?"
Yeah, which is an interesting ending. Of course, James is the only naturally blonde protagonist.
What about
a little fact there.
yeah.
No, he's the only one. I think even Maria dyes her hair,
Yes, I suspect.
and Mary has brown hair. So even if you class those as sort of partial protagonists rather than extra characters, yeah, James is the only one.
Did you think Claudia had fun?
No.
That thing that she eats was quite disturbing.
That was a quite gross scene, yeah.
I'm glad they didn't show it from the front, although it would probably be limited by technical aspects of it.
I think it's better left to the imagination. I think it's probably grosser.
And if they showed you it, it would probably look very silly.
Yeah.
A bit.
But yes, it was interesting that Claudia is the one who births the god in the end and gets dragged down into the pit by Valtiel.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah. Just comes out and grabs her and it's quite quick.
What was with him? He was around a lot.
He's sort of the caretaker of God, in a sense. He sort of looks after it and he keeps all of the valves turning. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the time he's turning a valve. He was when you have the mannequin legs sticking out from, well, I hope the mannequin legs sticking out from beneath the curtains so it looks like skirts. And earlier on in the game as well, I think the first time you see him, he's turning valves.
I was going to say, I think you can assume maybe that you see him so often throughout the games because he's keeping an eye on you. Because even from quite near the beginning, you're having, I don't know if you remember, you're having stomach pains as Heather. Mm. It's because she's preparing birthing God, feeding it with her hate, and so on and so forth.
Does he have eyes?
I mean, like, sort of metaphorically, not literally, maybe keeping eyes on her if he doesn't have eyes.
But yes, you also see him crawling through tunnels. And something else, another role he takes in the game is if you die in particular places in the game, he'll drag your corpse away as well. Presumably to aid in your resurrection, I'm not really sure.
Interesting.
So overall, though, you enjoyed Silent Hill 3? You said it was your favourite one?
I did. All the background scenery was quite well placed and interesting to look at most of the time.
Do you think the scariest one so far?
I'm not sure. I think 1 will always be the scariest to me because at the start I played it so long ago. It's the thing that lingered in my memory as one of the scariest games I played as a child. But
so that's sort of a factor in it that you caught it when you were young, even enough for it to have a big impression.
There's nothing quite like your first one, I
suppose. But Silent Hill 3 wasn't so much scary as annoying in places.
Yes, you've said before you found it quite irritating, some of the battle mechanics, some of the enemies. Just the way in general that you can take quite a lot of damage, but you can also deal quite a lot of damage before the enemies die. So you sort of both have more hit points.
Oh, I did want to say, I did think very impressive at least how much it interweaves 1 and 3, because it's sort of after 1 and after 2 where you assume they're going to be the same setting but different stories. It kind of goes for going back to being tied in with 1, which is cool.
I like them. I like the meta plot of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
2 sort of stood out from that because it wasn't really part of it.
Yeah, it was quite separate. I mean, they still used the Order and the town. They still used a little bit of it, but it wasn't really...
The focus.
Yeah, it wasn't the focus of Silent Hill 2. But yeah, it does mention it. In fact, there's in Silent Hill 2, there's allusions to Silent Hill 4. It's difficult to know when they were put in or how much it was sort of reverse engineered into it, because a lot of these games were in development at the same time. I think Silent Hill 3 and Silent Hill 4 were developed alongside each other by different teams.
There wasn't much difference in time between 2 and 3, was there?
I don't think so, no. There was, there's only ever sort of 2 or 3 years between each one. Not a massive amount of time for development, especially if you consider that between Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2 there was this massive technical jump, and even 3 is quite improvement on 2.
That's just mostly learning how to put the resources of the console to better use.
Yes, although not between the first and the second one, obviously. But yes, it's all about using resources. And people forget that, the PlayStation 2 only had like 4 megabyte of memory or something sillily small like that, which makes it a crying shame that the HD collection turned out so poorly. But hopefully we've rectified that. Right, so now that we've finished Silent Hill 3, we will of course be moving on to Silent Hill 4, although because Silent Hill 4 sort of lends itself more to... having someone not play it blind, so we're probably going to play that ourselves. However, you are welcome to commentate.
I'd like to do that, actually. Change your face.
So, yeah, if you're around, we'll have to do that. But we'll see yous all next time. Thank you very much for watching. So, goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.